Atlanta was shaken by a wave of turmoil that few saw coming. What seemed like harmless murmurs quickly transformed into something far more explosive. Blogs erupted. Podcasts dissected every second. Timelines flooded with speculation that refused to fade. The air itself felt hostile, thick, suffocating. You could almost sense the distrust pressing down on everyone in the room. Words carried sharp edges. Glances cut like knives. Respect dissolved in seconds, leaving nothing but raw animosity. At the core were faces already carved into the culture. Sierra Gates, Yandy Smith, Mendices Harris. Each name carried weight. Each presence fueled anticipation. And then, Kirk Frost, the man whose silence spoke louder than any argument. His stillness wasn't weakness. It was a warning. The questions came fast. Did Kirk act to stop the unraveling? Or did he remain motionless, allowing egos to clash unchecked? Witnesses whispered conflicting tales. Some swore he stepped forward, calm yet firm. Others claimed he lingered in the background, letting tempers ignite like gasoline meeting fire. What if his choice changed everything? What if one moment of restraint or interference decided the fate of friendships, alliances, and reputations? This wasn't just another quarrel. This was the kind of eruption that leaves permanent scars on public legacies. And it all ignited in Atlanta, on a night where betrayal met pride, and silence carried consequences too heavy to ignore. The first spark came not from fists, but from words. Rasheeda leaned forward, voice steady but sharp, and aimed her opening strike at Yandy. "You built an empire off pretending everything was perfect," she said, tone dripping with scorn. The crowd froze. Everyone knew this wasn't small talk, it was a direct challenge. Yandy didn't flinch. She smirked, adjusted her stance, and delivered her counterpunch. "At least I didn't build my career around a marriage contract. You've been signing papers while I've been building legacies." The room shifted. That line landed hard, echoing louder than the music in the background. Rasheeda's jaw tightened. "A contract is still more real than those staged podcast confessions you spill for sympathy." Her words sliced through the air like a blade. "You cry into a mic, then expect people to believe you're untouchable." The reaction was instant. Gasps, whispers, eyes darting back and forth. But Yandy refused to retreat. Confessions take courage. Something you wouldn't recognize if it slapped you. All you know is hiding behind Kirk, and pretending control makes you powerful. Now it wasn't just a quarrel. It was personal. Rasheeda leaned closer, voice lower, more dangerous. "Don't talk about courage when you couldn't even control your own household. Respect starts at home. Yours is chaos." That word, chaos, set everything ablaze. Yandy's smile vanished, replaced with fury. "Better chaos than living as Kirk's shadow. At least my name stands on its own." The verbal crossfire grew relentless, each word heavier than the last, each jab meant to cut deeper. What started as a clash of opinions had mutated into a brutal dismantling of reputations. The heat in the room rose with every sentence. People leaned in, afraid to miss a single syllable. This was no longer debate, it was battle. And in that moment, the war lines between Rasheeda and Yandy were drawn for everyone to see. The tension snapped like a wire pulled too tight. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed, her voice slicing with venom. "You parade around like a queen, but underneath you're nothing but a fraud." The words landed heavy, louder than the chatter, louder than the music. The crowd stiffened. Silence washed over the room, broken only by nervous murmurs. Yandy didn't hesitate. She threw her insult back with precision. "Fraud, please? The only deception here is the illusion of your marriage. Everyone knows Kirk calls the shots, while you smile and pretend you're in charge." The sting cut deep. Some gasped. Others laughed nervously. The audience's energy shifted. Phones rose higher, recording every syllable. The air buzzed with anticipation, each insult raising the stakes higher than the last. Rasheeda leaned forward, her tone bitter, almost daring Yandy to continue. "Talk all you want, but at least I'm not begging for relevance by exploiting drama online. You sell sob stories like they're merchandise." Yandy's glare hardened. Her words dripped with defiance. "Better to sell honesty than to live a lie. You've built your brand on denial, on pretending betrayal doesn't exist. Everyone sees it. You just refuse to admit it." The crowd erupted. Shouts mixed with laughter, some chanting names, others urging the women to stop. But neither slowed down. The insults weren't just sharp, they were calculated. Designed to humiliate. Designed to leave scars. Rasheeda fired again, her voice louder now, feeding off the reactions. "Don't confuse honesty with desperation. You broadcast pain because you crave pity. It's pathetic." Yandy's reply was immediate, her tone burning with fury. "Pity? No. People respect me because I never hid. Unlike you, I didn't bury my humiliation under contracts and staged smiles." The room felt like it was vibrating. Viewers weren't just watching an argument. They were witnessing reputations collapse in real time. Every phrase was a weapon. Every glare, a declaration of war. By now, the atmosphere was combustible. Producers exchanged nervous looks. Friends whispered warnings. But the clash only escalated. Louder, sharper, more merciless. Rasheeda stepped closer, her finger pointing, her words laced with venom. "You want respect? Earn it. Stop hiding behind a narrative crafted to make you look like a victim." Yandy snapped back instantly, voice almost shaking with rage. "And you want power? Stop pretending you have it. Everyone knows Kirk's shadow is the only reason you're even relevant." The audience gasped again, some holding their breath, some egging it on. The line between entertainment and real animosity had vanished. What started as shade had transformed into war. In that moment, the stakes crystallized. This wasn't only about pride. It was about identity, image, survival in a world where perception is everything. Neither Rasheeda nor Yandy could back down now. To retreat meant defeat. To stay meant destruction. The room knew it. The crowd felt it. The insults had gone beyond words. This was the moment. For most of the night, Kirk Frost had been a statue. Calm, silent, almost detached. But even statues crack under relentless pressure. And when the insults turned sharper, his composure finally began to unravel. His jaw tightened first. Then his fists, clenched so tightly the knuckles whitened. The room noticed. The calm that once surrounded him was gone, replaced with an edge so sharp it cut through the noise. Kirk stepped forward, his voice low but commanding. "Enough," he growled, each syllable slow and deliberate. It wasn't a request. It was a warning. The kind that made even the boldest pause. But no one stopped. The shouting carried on, forcing him deeper into the storm. His tone hardened. "Y'all think this is a game? You think words don't have consequences?" The crowd grew quiet, sensing danger in his delivery. His presence shifted from silent observer to undeniable threat. He looked directly at Yandy, then at Rasheeda. His glare lingered long enough to send chills. "Keep pushing, and I promise you, someone's gonna regret it." It was no longer speculation. It was a vow. Gasps rippled through the audience. Phones zoomed in, capturing every flicker of his fury. Some thought he was bluffing. Others swore his expression proved he meant every word. The menace in his tone deepened as he continued. "I've kept my mouth shut out of respect. But if you drag me further, I'll expose truths none of you are ready for." The declaration struck like lightning, silencing nearly everyone. For a moment, the only sound was heavy breathing. Kirk's fists didn't loosen. His eyes didn't waver. The tension reached a level that felt combustible, as if one more insult could ignite chaos beyond control. Rasheeda tried to answer, but Kirk cut her off instantly. His voice thundered. "Don't test me. Don't mistake silence for weakness. Because if I decide to speak, this entire room changes." The threat hung in the air, heavier than any insult traded before. Everyone knew it. Kirk wasn't throwing shade. He was promising destruction. And just like that, the power shifted. The women still seethed, but Kirk had altered the battlefield. His calm exterior had cracked, revealing the storm he had been holding back. It was no longer just Rasheeda versus Yandy. Now, Kirk stood in the middle, fists clenched, eyes locked, ready to unleash consequences that could shatter reputations forever. The clash had escalated beyond words, and his promise, dark and deliberate, left the night dangling on the edge of catastrophe. The room trembled under pressure that felt ready to explode. Words had been traded like weapons, but now silence carried sharper blades. Rasheeda's body leaned forward. Yandy's hands clenched at her sides. One wrong move, and the argument would shift into something physical. Everyone felt it. Everyone braced. Phones pointed from every direction, recording with unsteady hands. Screens glowed as people captured what looked like the verge of disaster. Some whispered warnings. Others urged the chaos to break loose. The crowd wasn't just watching. They were feeding the fire. Every breath seemed heavier. Every glare more dangerous. The space between Rasheeda and Yandy grew smaller with every second. Neither wanted to retreat. Both wanted to dominate. And then Kirk's fist tightened again, pulling every eye toward him. His silence was louder than the shouting that had come before. The threat lingered in the air, replaying in everyone's mind. He had promised consequences. Now the room wondered, was this the moment he delivered? On social media, the replay frenzy had already begun. Clips shot across timelines, loops of Rasheeda's insult, loops of Yandy's retaliation, screenshots of Kirk's clenched jaw. People argued over who crossed the line first, who looked more unhinged, and who held the upper hand. The footage didn't just capture an argument, it captured fear. The fear of what would happen if words weren't enough anymore. Gasps echoed as voices rose again. A chair scraped the floor. Hands gestured wildly, escalating the danger with each swing through the air. Producers hovered at the edge, unsure whether to intervene or let the cameras roll. The crowd knew what they were witnessing. History in real time. A clash so raw it blurred the line between reality and spectacle. For those holding their phones, every second felt like gold. Every angle, potential proof of who started the war if things turned violent. The tension didn't just hang in the air, it strangled it. One shove, one slap, one sudden lunge could rewrite careers in an instant. And every single person in that room, and every viewer glued to their screen, waited for that breaking point. The anxiety wasn't about if, it was about when, because the energy in Atlanta that night said only one thing. This battle was seconds away from exploding beyond control. Just when it seemed the shouting had reached its peak, another voice sliced through the noise. It wasn't Rasheeda. It wasn't Yandy. It was Rasheeda's closest friend, stepping forward with a smirk that sent a chill across the room. "Should I pull the receipts?" she asked, her tone dripping with confidence. The crowd gasped. That one sentence changed everything. The word receipts echoed like an explosion. People froze, phones tilted higher, and whispers spread like wildfire. The tension wasn't just verbal anymore. Evidence had been threatened. Evidence that could expose secrets Yandy never wanted public. Yandy's posture shifted. The bold smile that had carried her through the argument faltered for the first time. Her eyes narrowed, but her hands betrayed her, twitching slightly as if she was calculating her next move. Rasheeda's friend leaned in, raising her voice. "Because I have them. And once they're out, the world will finally see the truth you've been hiding." The crowd roared. Some shouted for her to show it. Others begged her to drop the files right then and there. The atmosphere pulsed with anticipation, the suspense nearly unbearable. Yandy tried to recover, forcing her tone steady. "People like you always talk big, but talk doesn't make facts." Her words carried defiance, yet her confidence seemed thinner, less unshakable than before. The friend smirked again, unfazed. "Trust me, sweetheart. Facts are what I deal in, and I've got more than you can handle." The room erupted with chaotic energy. Every person sensed the balance of power shifting. For the first time all night, Yandy's control appeared to slip. The possibility of hidden truth surfacing threatened to dismantle her image in seconds. The stakes skyrocketed. This was no longer a battle of insults. This was a war with potential proof, evidence that could shatter reputations, alliances, and legacies. The crowd knew they were on the brink of something explosive. And Yandy knew too. One revelation, one exposed message, the threat of receipts should have ended the clash. But instead, it poured gasoline on the fire. Rasheeda smirked, seizing the moment. "See? Even your people know you're living a lie. You've built a brand on smoke and mirrors." Yandy's laugh was sharp, almost mocking. "Funny coming from you. The only thing keeping your name alive is Kirk's shadow. Without him, you'd fade faster than last season's storyline." The crowd roared at the jab, but Rasheeda snapped back without hesitation. "At least I don't beg for pity checks by turning my problems into a podcast episode. You milk pain because it's the only thing that sells." Yandy's expression hardened. Her voice cracked with intensity. "Don't confuse monetizing pain with owning my truth. People respect transparency, something you wouldn't recognize if it stared you in the mirror." The audience leaned in. Each word was sharper than the last. Rasheeda pressed harder. "Transparency? You mean spinning stories until people feel sorry for you? You've mastered manipulation, not honesty." Yandy fired back instantly. "And you've mastered pretending loyalty while burying your dignity. You defend Kirk like a bodyguard, but everyone knows you're trapped in his shadow." That line stung. Rasheeda's face tightened. She leaned closer, her voice low but searing. "Careful. Keep talking about my marriage, and I'll drag your skeletons into the light." The tension thickened again, both women trembling with rage. Neither wanted peace. Both wanted the last word. What began as insults had spiraled into personal destruction. By now, the crowd understood. This wasn't just two women trading shade. It was deeper. Years of resentment, envy, and betrayal clawing their way to the surface. Every taunt was a wound, every counterattack a scar, and as the words piled higher, one truth became undeniable. Both Rasheeda and Yandy were unraveling. Piece by piece, right in front of everyone. The room had become a pressure cooker. Every shout, every sneer, every accusing glance had escalated beyond control. Producers, normally invisible, finally stepped into the storm. "Everyone, hold up!" one called, his voice firm but strained. "We need to calm this down before someone gets hurt." But the words barely penetrated. Rasheeda's chest heaved with anger. Her eyes locked on Yandy like daggers. "Don't even think about saving her now," she snapped. "I'm not done. She's been gunning for this moment, and I'm giving it to her." Yandy leaned forward, her own rage simmering, voice sharp as broken glass. "Try all you want. Threats don't scare me. I've survived worse, and I'll keep standing no matter what you throw." The crowd's energy was electric. Gasps, murmurs, and the buzz of phones trying to capture every explosive moment filled the air. People could feel the tension pressing down, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Kirk, usually the calm anchor, was trembling with contained fury. Every muscle in his body was taut. "Keep talking," he warned, low and steady. "But understand this. Cross my family again and you'll regret it." Rasheeda clutched his arm, desperation and fear mingling with her anger. "Kirk, don't let her drag you into this, please." But even her voice couldn't stem the storm. Yandy's eyes flickered with defiance, then a hint of doubt. "You think this intimidates me? I've been thrown to the wolves, lied on, and I'm still here." "Don't think a little fire from you changes that." The producers tried again, hands raised, voices urging calm. "Enough! Step back! This has gone too far!" But Rasheeda was relentless. "Don't stop me now." She wanted this moment, and I'm not holding back. The room spun with chaos. Insults, threats, and bitter truths collided, overlapping in a deafening cacophony. Every word seemed to land harder than the last. Every glare was a spark in an already raging fire. Yandy slammed her hands on the table, voice cracking yet fierce. "You think you've broken me? Never. I live my truth. I don't hide behind lies or a perfect image. Unlike you." Kirk's glare cut through the room. "Keep pushing, and you'll see just how far I'll go." The air vibrated with tension, a palpable force that left everyone frozen. Finally, the producers' persistence began to work. Gentle but firm, they guided the cast apart. "This has to stop now, no more. We can't let it go any further." Slowly, the chaos ebbed, though the scars of the battle remained. The crowd, the cast, and the viewers at home were left stunned. Phones buzzed, memories of the explosive meltdown etched forever. The storm had passed, but its aftermath promised the drama was far from over. The room finally began to settle, but the tension didn't disappear. Producers gently guided the cast apart, their hands firm yet careful, ensuring no one surged forward again. Voices that had roared moments ago were replaced with strained breaths and heavy silence. Rasheeda's hand still gripped Kirk's arm, her chest rising and falling with raw emotion. She refused to release him, as if letting go might allow the storm to erupt again. Kirk's jaw remained tight, eyes darting between Yandy and Rasheeda, his body still vibrating with the residue of anger. Yandy stood a few feet away, arms crossed, her breathing sharp, her expression defiant. She didn't smile. She didn't apologize. Her glare alone carried the weight of every word she had spat in the heat of battle. The tension between them was palpable, like a wound left open, raw and bleeding. The crowd whispered among themselves, some nodding, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Phones still hovered in shaky hands, capturing fragments of the chaos that had just unfolded. Every gasp, every muttered comment, seemed amplified by the intensity that had filled the room. No one offered reconciliation. No one reached out with a calming hand. The silence was thick, almost suffocating, punctuated only by the occasional shuffle of a foot or the click of a camera capturing the aftermath. The feud hadn't ended. It had merely paused, simmering beneath the surface, waiting for the next spark. Fans watching later described the scene as haunting. A family divided, pride bruised, and a rivalry left unresolved. Rasheeda's eyes still flickered with a mix of fury and fear, Kirk's tension lingering like a shadow, and Yandy's defiance refusing to waver. The room had been a battlefield, and even after separation, the energy didn't dissipate. Every onlooker felt it, the precarious balance, the lingering threats, and the knowledge that this was far from over. Words had been said, reputations tested, and boundaries pushed to the limit. The echoes of the confrontation would follow them, off camera and on social media, for days to come. The night closed with no handshakes, no apologies, no signs of truce. Just silence, heavy and unyielding, a wound left exposed, and the unspoken truth. The feud between Rasheeda and Yandy, with Kirk caught in the middle, was only beginning to reveal its full depth. Fans erupted across social media immediately after the showdown. Tweets, posts, and stories spread like wildfire, each reaction amplifying the chaos that had unfolded in Atlanta. Some sided firmly with Rasheeda and Kirk, applauding their defense of family and pride. Others rallied behind Yandy, praising her fearless stance and refusal to back down. The debate ignited online, splitting viewers and fueling heated discussions. Pundits weighed in, dissecting every glance, every word, every tense moment. Analysts called it one of the most shocking confrontations in love and hip-hop history, pointing out that Kirk's rare loss of composure added a layer of unpredictability that fans could not ignore. The questions were endless. Had Yandy gone too far? Was Rasheeda justified in defending her family so aggressively? And what does this mean for Kirk's reputation moving forward? Viewers were left to decide. Whose side do you take? Is Yandy courageous for standing her ground or reckless for provoking a volatile reaction? Did Rasheeda protect her family, or did she escalate the fire further? And most importantly, can this feud recover? Or has the damage already changed the game forever? These are questions with no easy answers, and they linger long after the cameras stop rolling. For fans who live for drama, intrigue, and behind-the-scenes revelations, this moment is a masterclass in tension and reality TV storytelling. Every reaction, every response, every viral clip fuels speculation, making it impossible to look away. So now, it's your turn to weigh in. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think came out on top? Who misstepped? And what do you predict will happen next in this explosive saga? Don't miss a beat. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. This story is far from over, and every episode promises more shocking twists, jaw-dropping moments, and unfiltered drama. Stay tuned, because in Atlanta, the tension never truly ends, and the next explosive chapter is always just around the corner.